this is Kev. This is Black Men Being Brutally Honest. I wanted to do a follow up on a few series of a few videos I did a while back. Um, at a convenience store in Clearwater, Florida, on July 19th, 2018, Markeis McGlockton was gunned down by Michael Drejka um, while defending his girlfriend and his family. Markeis McGlockton, his girlfriend, and their family pulled up to the convenience store. He stepped out with his son to go get some snacks. I guess he parked in a handicap spot. Markeis McGlockton, well, I guess no. Well, he parked in a handicap spot. Michael Drejka drove up and immediately began to argue with McGlockton's girlfriend about the parking space. So Markeis McGlockton came out and pushed Michael Drejka to the ground immediately. And Michael Drejka immediately drew a gun and shot Markeis McGlockton in the chest. Markeis McGlockton, as he saw the gun, stepped back in caution. And what happened from there was he got shot in the chest, and he ran back to the store where he collapsed dead in front of his son. Um, on Friday, August 23rd, 2019, Michael Drejka was found guilty of manslaughter almost a year later. And also since then, Michael Drejka and his attorneys have filed a motion to um, have a new trial. So let me share the screen real quick and show you a couple things. First off, I'm gonna show you a little snippet from the first time I reported on this. Here we go. The video is entitled "Markeis McGlockton shows that protecting your family can get you killed." Uh, what it's gonna do is going to show you, just watch. Report. That's my voice. All right, let's get to it. Let me got a screen share first. Wow. Making headlines tonight. A fight over a parking space somehow turned deadly, and police say the man who pulled the trigger is protected by the law. ABC Zachary Keesh explains. Is this death captured on surveillance of a Florida father gunned down during a parking lot? Wow. Justified. Florida police citing the state clearly see him backing up. Stand your ground law. That's his son right there. The altercation took place Thursday outside of a convenience store in Clearwater. The driver of that car is Brittany Jacobs. She pulls up and parks illegally in a handicap space. Then her boyfriend, Markeis McGlockton, a 28-year-old black male, runs into the store with their son while she waits in the car. Detectives say that's when Michael Drejka, a 47-year-old white man, apparently upset the cars parked illegally, jumps out of his vehicle and inspects the car for handicap decals. When he doesn't see any, he starts arguing. Shortly after, McGlockton leaves the store to defend his girlfriend and shoves Drejka, who falls back, pulls out his gun, and opens fire. All right, I'm going to say this for all the apologists out there. I'm quite sure that he was saying nothing but nice things. I mean, maybe he was some homeless man that approached this woman and started asking for money. I'm sure there was just absolutely no goddamn reason why Mr. McGlockton could have just walked up and pushed this guy, unless, of course, he was saying some really horrible shit to her. This man was defending his girlfriend. Yeah, and his family too. That's what I don't get. Michael Drejka was reported in having, this kind of problem with other people before. Complaint namely patrons who complained to the security that was inside the store that Michael Drejka was shouting horrible obscenities to them and threatening to pull a gun. But let me show you this as well. I think this is the report that they did from jail, and I want you to hear this man's reasoning for this. This right here I'm showing you just so we can establish why he think that he was justified in doing what he did.
And I mean, and please, after you watch this, tell me if this doesn't scream murderer.
Claiming defense in the controversial Stand Your Ground case, Michael Drejka says he was shocked when he was arrested. ABC Action News reporter Maricela Burgos heard from the family of the man Drejka shot and killed. Maricela. McGlockton's family didn't feel his words were sincere. From jail, Michael Drejka talked about his financial troubles, his focus, which is his wife, and a little bit about what happened July 19th. You've seen the surveillance video.
Yeah, I was very scared. I've never been confronted with it before.
Now you're hearing from the man locked up for manslaughter in the death of Markeis McGlockton. Michael Drejka says he defended himself when authorities say he shot McGlockton.
It felt like I was tackled or someone hit me from behind with something.
The Pinellas County Sheriff's Office shared this interview a reporter did with Drejka.
I followed the law the way I felt the law was supposed to be followed.
I followed the law the way I felt the law was supposed to be followed. And he is saying, I cleared every hurdle of that. Basically, I think what he's perceiving is once this man put his hands on me, I had the green light to kill him according to the law. Yeah, that was his defense. Sheriff Bob Gaultier initially refused to arrest Michael Drejka based on the stand your ground laws. I mean, just like Bob Gaultier blatantly refused. Like he's saying that, well, it looked like that. It just looked to me like Mr. Drejka's life was in danger. Stand your ground works if you are stalking and approaching the man looking like you're going to be a danger to that person. Then you can prevent yourself from getting utterly destroyed. But that's not what you saw in the actual footage. The man that was a few feet behind McGlockton saw Drejka pull out the gun and he moved to the side himself in caution. McGlockton was backing up, visibly confirming that he was no longer a danger to Michael Drejka. Michael Drejka, he could have pulled the gun and just say, hey, you know what? Back away, back away. No, Michael Drejka did the one thing that he should not have done in that situation, period, and that was pull the trigger. If McGlockton was a danger to Michael Drejka, yeah. But no, you weren't, guy. Let's continue to hear this bullshit reasoning from this sorry ass man.
At first, Drejka didn't want to answer specific questions about that day. Authorities say the dispute started because of a handicap spot. Drejka says he knows people who have needed to use them.
My whole life is always been looking for a handicap spot. Right. It's always customary.
He said his whole life he's always had to look for a handicap parking spot. They're right in front of the damn building. And every time I drive into a parking lot, the handicap spots are always clear. Now, besides the 10 or 15 spots this has happened to me, or the 20 or 30 spots that this has happened to me in the United States, how's his case different? No, he just wanted a reason to be a street warrior, a vigilante, as he's been described.
So the idea is that you're abused and used.
The attorney representing McGlockton's parents watched the entire jailhouse interview. Michael Drejka to me is nothing more than a vigilante. He's nothing more than a wannabe cop that is out here patrolling. Michelle Rayner doesn't believe Drejka showed any remorse. Markeis McGlockton was a father. He was a son. He was shot down in front of his child. He collapsed and died in front of his child.
And you know who else did that street warrior bullshit? George Zimmerman. If you listen to the 911 call from that incident, George Zimmerman was instructed to stay still until the cops came. But I know how alarming walking with some iced tea and some Skittles can be sometimes. That was sarcasm. Anyway, let's continue on to what we need to get to here. Let me see. Now, I'm going to show you a video from CBS.com. And the headline reads, Jury finds Michael Drejka guilty of manslaughter in Stand Your Ground case. Manslaughter, yeah, that's good. But my opinion is the man should be charged with murder. Period, point blank, end of discussion. He's a murderer. So let me play this clip for you.
Ground law as defense. Currently, 10 states have some form of law that gives a person the right to defend themselves or others against a perceived threat. Carter Evans has more.
I went home last night. I had woke up little Markeis, and I said, "Baby, we got justice for Daddy."
Yeah, that was Brittany Jacobs. You saw her in a clip earlier. That was Markeis McGlockton's baby's mama, the mother of his children, rather.
The family of Markeis McGlockton says he was vindicated when the jury returned its verdict late Friday night.
The defendant is guilty of manslaughter as charged.
Michael Drejka now faces 30 years in prison for the killing.
The video speaks better than I can.
During the trial, prosecutors focus on surveillance video from a Florida convenience store which shows Drejka confronting McGlockton's girlfriend in July 2018 for parking in a handicap space. When McGlockton came out of the store, he pushed Drejka, who drew his gun and fired.
They were going to beat Mr. Drejka to a pulp.
The defense claimed Drejka felt threatened and was protected by Florida's Stand Your Ground law, which allows the use of deadly force with no requirement to retreat.
Before calling you reference today's shooting.
In an interview with detectives, Drejka said McGlockton was still moving toward him after he drew his gun.
One more step toward me, and I didn't say a word. Okay, it was already out. Okay, what do you do? Fire away.
But prosecutors say the surveillance video shows McGlockton, who was unarmed, actually stepped back.
Clearly.
We're thankful that the jury saw what we saw what everybody saw in that video.
Michael Drejka will be sentenced in October. His lawyers are considering an appeal. Carter Evans, CBS News.
And speaking of his lawyers considering an appeal, let me show you this article right here. And yes, it is beginning to happen. And this is News Channel 8 from Pinellas County. Michael Drejka files motion for new trial, attorney says. All I can say is good luck with that. Good luck with that. If he files motion for a new trial, I hope that the prosecution really just drains this man and just breaks him. Because he's a sorry human being. He decides he wants to pick on people over handicap spots. And saying what a grave challenge it was for him. And it just struck a nerve every time he saw somebody illegally parked in a handicap spot. It was a convenience store. They weren't going in to shop for like 3 hours. I'm sorry about that. But that was no justification for killing a man, even if he got pushed to the ground. He had protection. He was just upset, and his pride was stripped from him once a stronger man came to him and neutralized that situation. Because it's pretty obvious to me that Michael Drejka was not asking nicely, was not saying nice things to this man's girlfriend. Now, this goes back to me in the whole thing about protecting black, when women say black men don't protect black women. Hell, she got out the car. Before she got out the car, Markeis was up to the car. And he pushed this man down. Michael Drejka, to me, was obviously being confrontational. Now, let me read this article. Pinellas County, Florida. Michael Drejka has filed for a motion for a new trial, according to his attorney, John Travena, just days after being convicted. A jury found Michael Drejka guilty for shooting and killing Markeis McGlockton back in July 2018 outside the Circle A food store following an argument over a handicapped parking space. Jurors came to a unanimous decision after more than 6 hours of deliberations. Drejka's attorney, John Travena, says they are confident the verdict will be overturned on appeal. Drejka is expected to remain in custody and to be held without bond until he is sentenced. Sentencing is scheduled to take place October 10th. So I do feel like that Drejka and his attorney, John Travena's request is ridiculous. It is fucking ridiculous. They spent that in, as reported, and I'll put a link to a report, to an article that confirms this information I'm about to give you. They did nothing but spend time assassinating Markeis McGlockton's character, trying to paint him as some kind of, and you know what they'd always do to black men, paint us as violent criminals, paint us as unstable, and even with Michael Drejka's perception in that clip I showed you, it was utter nonsense. He said that he thought that he performed the law the way the law was supposed to be performed. He figured once McGlockton put his hands on him that he was in danger, that he was about to die if he didn't shoot this man. Or Michael Drejka is just a bully. That's all I see him as. Because he's done this before and he's done this repeatedly. You heard he said it himself. He has this little vendetta about handicapped parking spot, and that was BS's damn self. Let's just say what it is. He's on that same racist bullshit that all them other little stand your ground shooters are on. What about when that black woman tried to use the stand your ground defense? She had to actually spend time in prison. She just recently got off, but that was BS. But he's expecting to be treated differently. Fucking typical. Well, okay. I guess I'm going to be done here for the moment. And everybody who's watching, thanks for tuning. The best decisions that y'all possibly can, because hopefully October 10th, Michael Drejka will be going away for a long, long time. And we'll leave you with this: black men do defend their families, black women and black children. I'm sorry that Markeis McGlockton had to sacrifice his own life just to do that. All right, guys, like, share, subscribe, and Kev, we trust. Goodbye.